Something big might be brewing in South Florida. According to multiple internal sources, the Miami Dolphins are abuzz with excitement over the possibility of landing one of the most dominant defensive forces in recent NFL history, Nick Bosa. Whispers from inside the Dolphins organization suggest that the front office is seriously exploring the logistics of what would be a seismic move, one that could reshape the team's defensive identity for years to come. And while nothing is official yet, the growing anticipation is impossible to ignore. Nick Bosa, the San Francisco 49ers star defensive end, is not just any name on the market. Since being selected second overall in the 2019 NFL Draft out of Ohio State, Bosa has lived up to every bit of the hype that surrounded him. The 2022 NFL Defensive Player of the Year and a 5-time Pro Bowler, Bosa has consistently terrorized opposing quarterbacks, racking up 10.5 sacks in 2023 and 9 more in 2024, even while battling through injury. His performance in high-stakes matchups, like the NFC Championship game and Super Bowl LVA, only adds to his allure. The Dolphins, already boasting a dynamic core and coming off a strong season, believe they may be one elite pass rusher away from turning the corner, with the AFC loaded with elite quarterbacks, from Patrick Mahomes to Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. Adding a game changer like Bosa to the defensive front could be the missing ingredient. Miami's defense showed flashes of brilliance last season, but a consistent high motor presence off the edge has remained a key item on their wish list. Complicating matters is Bosa's massive contract. His 5-year, $170 million deal with the 49ers made him the highest paid defensive player in NFL history. But the Dolphins, known for their creative cap management and bold off-season moves, are reportedly open to finding ways to make the numbers work. With Bosa still under contract and no official trade request on the table, Miami would likely have to send significant draft capital or key roster pieces to San Francisco to make any potential deal a reality. Nick Bosa's game is built on a rare combination of power, speed, and technique that separates him from nearly every other edge rusher in the league. His explosiveness off the snap is almost surgical. He times it with such precision that offensive linemen often lose the battle before it even begins. Whether he's utilizing a bull rush, a perfectly executed spin move, or his signature dip and rip. Around the edge, Bosa's ability to create pressure consistently has made him a nightmare for offensive coordinators. For Miami, a defense with rising stars in the secondary and promising interior linemen, adding Bosa could elevate the entire unit to an elite level. What truly makes Bosa special isn't just his stats, but his motor and football IQ. He reads, plays in real time with a veteran's instinct, often recognizing screens, draws, or play action before the ball even leaves the quarterback's hand. That awareness translates into game-changing plays, forced fumbles, tipped passes, and critical third down stops that swing momentum. In today's NFL, where defensive players need to be more than just pass rushers, Bosa's versatility makes him invaluable. He can play with his hand in the dirt or standing up, and he's just as effective defending the run as he is hunting the quarterback. Fans in Miami are already imagining how Bosa would fit into defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver's aggressive scheme. The thought of pairing him with edge rusher Jalen Phillips or having him crash in from the outside while Christian Wilkins collapses the middle is tantalizing. His presence alone demands double teams, which would free up the rest of the front seven to wreak havoc. And for a team that's often struggled to get off the field on third downs, Bosa could be the closer they've been desperately needing. Adding to the excitement is the fact that Bosa is only 27 years old and firmly in his prime, with 5 Pro Bowl selections under his belt and no signs of slowing down. His best football may still be ahead of him. His reputation as a locker room leader and relentless competitor only enhances his appeal. For a franchise looking to make a deep postseason run and challenge the likes of Kansas City and Baltimore in the AFC, bringing in a player like Bosa isn't just about adding talent, it's about making a statement. Miami is ready to take that leap, and the NFL world is watching closely. Still, the mood inside Dolphins headquarters is one of cautious optimism. It's the kind of move that changes everything, one anonymous staff member reportedly said. You don't get a chance to add a player like Bosa every day. As speculation grows and fans begin to dream of Bosa donning aqua and orange, one thing is clear. The Miami Dolphins are thinking big, and Nick Bosa may just be at the center of their grand plan. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up! Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins find themselves at a delicate and defining crossroads, with the franchise now reportedly seeking to trade cornerback Jalen Ramsey before the upcoming NFL draft. This development has sent shockwaves throughout the league and reignited a deeper conversation about the direction of the organization. For a team that has flirted with contention but never quite made the leap, the possibility of moving on from a high-profile player like Ramsey isn't just a personnel shift. It's a potential signal of a larger philosophical change. One that could reshape the franchise from top to bottom. The Dolphins over the past several years have consistently found themselves in a purgatory that no NFL team wants to be in, the dreaded middle tier. They are not among the league's worst, with a roster that boasts flashes of promise, but they are also nowhere near the league's elite, lacking the consistent execution, coaching stability, and front office clarity required to make a deep postseason run. This limbo, too good to tank, too flawed to truly contend, is arguably the worst place for a franchise to reside. It stifles progress, breeds disillusionment, and often masks deeper systemic issues that eventually rise to the surface. This is precisely where Miami is now. And the possible departure of Ramsey, who arrived with fanfare and the expectation of solidifying a championship-caliber defense, only underscores how far the organization still is from its aspirations. The situation surrounding Ramsey is complex. On one hand, he was acquired with the belief that his veteran leadership and lockdown ability would elevate the defense to elite status. But as time went on, the marriage between player and organization seemed to fracture, revealing fissures in Miami's broader team-building philosophy. Empowered and well-compensated, Ramsey was expected to be a cornerstone. Yet here we are, barely 2 seasons later, with the team now exploring ways to offload him. This move would likely not be about cap space alone, nor solely about performance on the field. It represents something larger, an admission that things have not gone according to plan. It would be a tacit acknowledgement that the team's current trajectory may no longer be viable and that major changes, possibly including a full rebuild, need to be considered. Such a pivot would not be without precedent in Miami. In fact, not long ago, the Dolphins underwent a similar transformation. The 2019 teardown was ruthless, stripping the roster down to its bare bones in order to build anew through the draft and strategic acquisitions. At the time, it was a necessary reset, one that offered hope that a clearer vision would emerge. For a moment, it did seem to work. The Dolphins made some noise, flirted with playoff relevance, and assembled a young core that appeared promising. But somewhere along the way, the vision became muddled. Now, as pointed out by Omar Kelly of the Miami Herald, there's a growing sentiment that the franchise may once again be in need of that kind of scorched earth strategy. He writes, "You just put on a brave face and hope a crop of 20 rookies brings energy, enthusiasm, and hunger, keeping what's left of this team from bleeding out." His tone is bleak, yet accurate. The optimism that once surrounded this era of Dolphins football has begun to dissipate, replaced by frustration and disillusionment. Kelly goes further, suggesting that the next general manager and head coach might need to be the ones to light the match this time around. That's a damning indictment of the current leadership structure, a structure that has overseen too many missteps, including how it handled the acquisition and management of Jalen Ramsey. In Kelly's view, the way the Dolphins not only brought in Ramsey in but gave him power and financial investment only to see it unravel so quickly is emblematic of a larger failure in leadership. And it's hard to argue with that assessment. The very qualities that were supposed to stabilize the team have instead contributed to its instability. The decision to move on from a player like Ramsey, a high-level talent who should be a part of any contending defense, signals more than roster tinkering. It suggests an organization that may be preparing to start over, at least in part. But here's the catch. Who is steering this ship? The prospect of a rebuild always sparks debate about who should be entrusted with executing it. In this case, that figure would be General Manager Chris Grier, and that, for many observers, is where the biggest concern lies. Grier has been a polarizing figure throughout his tenure with the Dolphins. He has overseen some promising draft picks and bold free agent moves, but his track record is far from spotless. In fact, many would argue that he has been one of the most underwhelming executives in the league over the last several years. From inconsistent coaching hires to questionable draft decisions and problematic contract negotiations, Grier's tenure has been riddled with inconsistency and short-sighted planning, and trusting him with yet another rebuild, especially one as critical and potentially painful as this one, feels risky at best and irresponsible at worst. It's easy to understand the logic behind parting ways with Ramsey. He's expensive, he's aging, and perhaps most crucially, he no longer aligns with the team's apparent new direction. But before any final decisions are made about Ramsey, about the roster, about the future, the Dolphins must look in the mirror and ask a far more important question. Who is making these decisions, and why should they be trusted? Without a clear and competent leadership group at the helm, no amount of cap flexibility or draft picks will matter. Rebuilding is not simply about tearing down. It's about constructing a foundation that can actually support long-term success. And that process begins, and often ends, with the front office. As the Dolphins inch closer to the 2025 NFL Draft, the clock is ticking. The trade rumors around Jalen Ramsey might be the first domino to fall, but it likely won't be the last. What comes next could determine the direction of the franchise for years to come. Will they embrace the painful but potentially rewarding path of a true rebuild, guided by a new leadership group with a fresh vision? Or will they continue to tread water, making short-term moves in a long-term league? Time will tell. But one thing is certain: the Miami Dolphins cannot afford to remain stuck in the middle any longer. Something has to give. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week?